Hey everyone, I'm Phil Ledzinski, hosting this week's Roundtable surrounding the biggest week in NCAA basketball, March Madness. And here today we have Ethan, Nick, and Dylan. And we're going to go over an assortment of topics, but first of all, we're going to start with this year's sleeper. So a team that might be on the outskirts of like a favorite to win it all, but someone that has a realistic chance of going pretty far in the tournament and maybe even going all the way. So who do you think that might be this year, Ethan?
Oh, thank you, Phil. My sleeper for this year is got to be Texas Tech. I think they are a 3 seed, but they're not highly picked. But I think in the West, not the hardest region. I think Michigan, obviously the team that we all support, is having a little bit of rough time in important games, and I don't think Gonzaga is that good. So I think Texas Tech could easily come out of there, get on a roll, and win it all.
My sleeper is coming from a different region. I'm going to go with Auburn, who is a 5 seed in this tournament. They just won the SEC tournament, so they're already on a roll right now and winning games. They've been a very good team all year. Their issue has been consistency. They've gone on runs where they could beat anyone. They've gone on runs where they couldn't beat anyone. So that's how they ended up with the 5 seed, but they definitely have the talent level to play with anyone. I actually have them going to the Final Four.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting that you picked Auburn, because that was actually my sleeper for this week.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, really looking good, pretty streaky team, but I think overall that makes them a competitor to make a good run. I also had them in my Final Four, so that's an interesting pick right there. They beat Tennessee twice, and I think that kind of sets them up for a good tournament run.
For sure, yeah. I think Auburn's BPI is like 12th in the nation, so they're definitely an underrated team based on their seed. I probably would have picked them too for that question. Moving forward, just to reiterate, we want to keep these questions a little short because we got a lot to go through, so we're going to move right into the next one. Your player to see this year, so maybe someone you haven't watched a ton during the regular season, but someone that is going to stand out during the tournament. We'll go with the opposite order this time.
Okay. My player to see is UCF's Taco Fall, 7'6" center, and he's just looking pretty good this season. And I can see a potential matchup with Duke in the round of 32. And if I see a Zion and Taco Fall posterizer, I think the whole arena might explode.
I'm going to go with Ja Morant at Murray State. He's at a small school, but he's generally a top 3 draft pick for next year, so it'll be interesting to see him go to play against some of the bigger schools.
For sure.
I think my player to watch is, someone that I have seen a little bit this year, but I'm going to go Ethan Happ with Wisconsin. I think he could easily carry Wisconsin into the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 up there in the South Division.
I like that. I like Ethan Happ. I feel like he doesn't get the credit that he deserves a lot of the time for how solid he's been this whole year. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully Wisconsin can make a run. Next up, we're going to go with the bust of the year. So, which team that might be rated pretty highly you think is going to exit the tournament really early this year? We'll start with Nick.
My bust for this year's tournament, is going to be Kansas State, the Wildcats. They are a 4 seed going up against the UC Irvine Anteaters, and so I have UC Irvine winning that game and putting a scare into the winner of the other game, but not quite making it to the Sweet 16.
Okay. Ethan next.
Well, it's kind of sticking with the same theme there. My bust is just Kansas. I think they will get blown out by the 13 seed Northeastern. I think Kansas is absolute trash.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
How do you really
And
feel?
then to kind of ring it out, I got LSU being the biggest bust of this tournament. With their coach being out and a Yale win in the Ivy League tournament, I just don't see them making it too far in this tournament.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a pretty popular opinion. Yale's looking pretty solid, and LSU is all over the map. So we're going to move into our last category, which is this year's potential Cinderella story. So like the Loyola Chicago of last year, the George Mason of 10 or 12 years ago, whatever it was, which team on the outskirts of the seeding has a chance of not necessarily winning it all, but, making a huge impact on this tournament and being a national story. We'll start with Ethan.
Okay, it's a pretty easy one for me. I got Belmont. They've already won their first game of the tournament, and I think they'll easily beat Maryland. I think they'll take down the winner of LSU Yale and potentially put up a good fight against my projected matchup, Michigan State there.
Perfect.
I'm gonna roll with Wofford. They're a 7 seed, so a little bit higher than your usual Cinderella, but they're very good shooters, and they've been a team all year that most people have been watching and kind of hoping to see them in the tournament because they just can play really good basketball.
For sure.
For my Cinderella, I have UC Irvine. I think they're a really good team. They're actually got the biggest win streak going into the tournament, and they're a 30-win overall team in the regular season. So I see UC Irvine taking out, I believe it's K-State, and then moving on into the Sweet 16 actually.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think those are all pretty realistic, and that is all we have for you today from the Roundtable. Looking forward to seeing how accurate or inaccurate these picks are going to be down the road. And so now we're going to send it over to this week's game called Heads Up.